Every time I hear this story, I can't help but wonder, who did she make mad? Who did she refuse? And why did it take an army of people to attack her like hyenas instead of just one accuser? Because isn't that how it always happens? One person gets offended and suddenly they collect a crowd. Whispers become weapons, judgment turns into sport, and before you know it, there's a circle forming around your name. See, she knew who she was. She didn't hide it, but they hid who they were. And that's what shame often looks like. People projecting their hidden sin onto someone brave enough to be seen. Some storms don't come with thunder. They come with whispers, with rumors, with the sting of eyes that won't look at you the same. There's storms of reputation and storms of shame. And if you've ever lived through one, you know how heavy it is to carry what people think they know about you. I'm Misty Green, and this is the I Lead Misty Blue podcast, where strategy meets soul and faith finds its voice. This is part 5 of our 10-part series, Peace in the Storm, Faith in the Uncertainty. If you've missed the earlier episodes, Job's storm, Joseph's betrayal, Hannah's waiting, and the woman with the issue of blood, go back and listen. Each story reminds us that peace isn't found when life is quiet. It's found when God steps into the noise with you. And today we meet a woman whose identity was reduced to a single accusation. Her story shows us what peace looks like after public disgrace, when grace kneels lower than condemnation ever could. In John 8, a crowd dragged a woman into the temple courts. No name, no voice, no chance to explain herself. The accusers shouted, "Teacher, this woman has been caught in the act of adultery. The law says to stone her. What do you say?" They didn't bring the man, only her, because the world has always been quick to judge women publicly and excuse men privately. That's the reality. They didn't care about righteousness. They cared about a show. And maybe you've been there, caught in the crossfire of someone else's agenda, talked about, judged unfairly. I've sat there with you as well. Your story twisted and used as evidence against your character. When your reputation becomes the battlefield, you learn fast that storms don't just hit your circumstances, they hit your name. They used her as bait, but she was still human, frightened, exposed, and standing in a storm she never saw coming. We've all been there, haven't we? Labeled by what we did instead of who we are, defined by our worst day instead of our whole story. Maybe your storm isn't public sin. Maybe it's public scrutiny. Maybe you've been misunderstood, misrepresented, or manipulated by those who only tell one side of the story. And sometimes the loudest storms aren't about truth. They're about agenda and control. That's where she stood in a circle of people who pretended to be righteous while hiding their own sin behind her humiliation. See, shame doesn't just accuse you, it isolates you. And isolation is one of the enemy's favorite weapons because when you're surrounded by judgment, peace feels so far away. But that's exactly where Jesus showed up. They demanded an answer, and instead of defending or debating, Jesus did something shocking. He stooped down. He knelt, lowering himself into her dust, her disgrace, her silence. He wrote in the dirt, the same dirt they'd used to accuse her. And then he stood and said, "Let the one without sin cast the first stone." I've heard many ministers say over the years, they believe that Jesus wrote other people's names, and maybe he did. Maybe he wrote other types of sins. We'll never know. All we know is when he stood and he said, "Let the one without sin cast the first stone," something shifted. And one by one, what happened? The sound of stones hit the ground. Because the truth is, the only one there without sin was the one who refused to throw anything. The crowd left, the whispers faded, and for the first time, peace stood still. Jesus looked at her, not through her, not around her, but directly at her. Woman, where are your accusers? Has no one condemned you? She whispered, No one, Lord. And he said, Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. That was the sound of grace rewriting a story. That was the moment shame lost its power, because peace doesn't come from perfection. It comes from knowing you're forgiven. He didn't just dismiss her sin. He restored her worth. He didn't label her by her failure. He named her with freedom. That's what he still does. For the one who feels misunderstood, misjudged, and made into a headline, peace isn't the silence of your critics. It's the stillness of being known by God and loved despite your critics. Sometimes, even after you've been forgiven, the world keeps trying to throw stones. Old conversations resurface. People keep bringing up what God already buried. If that's you, hear me. You don't have to keep explaining yourself to people who never cared to understand you. You don't have to convince anyone of your redemption. Grace has already spoken for you. Peace comes when you stop fighting to clear your name and start trusting the one who already knows it. You are not what they said. You are who he calls you. Maybe your storm isn't shame from sin. Maybe it's shame from being misunderstood, rejected, or forgotten. Maybe it's the heavy silence that follows rumors you never even started, nor were you part of the rumor itself. This woman's story teaches us something profound. Peace isn't found when everyone finally sees the truth. It's found when you realize you never needed their approval anyway. Jesus didn't stand with the crowd. He stood with her, and he'll stand with you too. Peace isn't what happens when people stop talking about you. It's what happens when their words no longer have the power to define you. It's the quiet confidence that even if they never understand your heart, God still does. The woman caught in adultery reminds us there's no reputation to be ruined, no mistake too visible, and no shame too heavy for grace to reach. He still stoops low. He still writes redemption stories in the dirt, and he still whispers, Neither do I condemn you. I'm Misty Green, and this has been Peace After Shame, the woman caught in adultery, part of the Peace in the Storm, Faith in the Uncertainty series. Pull up a chair next time as we continue this journey, learning that peace isn't found when the storm ends. It's found in the one who walks with you through every wave.